Good evening, everyone. I'm Elizabeth George, Chief Membership Officer with the American Guild of Organists, and I am so delighted that you are here to join me tonight um, for, I think, what's going to be a really interesting program about all the different kinds of education programming that is available to you, aside from what we sometimes call, the standard, the organ crawls, the members recitals. They're all important, but I think we're going to hear from two people in two different chapters that I think are doing some very exciting and different things. um, so before we get started, please know that you are muted, but we do want you to be heard, so please post your questions and your comments in the Q&A box that is at the bottom of your screen, and I'll be monitoring your questions. We do want to hear from you. The second thing is that this is being recorded. So for those of you or your colleagues that could not attend it, we'll probably have this out within 48 hours and we'll share the link and it'll be up on our website. So I am going to ask Paul with us tonight. We have John Sullivan, who is the program chair for the Portland, Maine chapter. And we have Linda Mack, who is the subdean of the Denver Rocky Mountain chapter. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to unmute yourself and show yourselves, turn your videos on, it'd be great. Wonderful. Thank you so much. So what was interesting is I read about what the Portland, Maine chapter was doing, and you all may have seen this as well in this month's TAO in the chapters area. And I'm so delighted that our editor, Nicholas Bergen, is really growing this chapters area in this magazine. There was a screenshot of a lot of people on a Zoom meeting listening to a lecture. And I thought, well, this is really cool. I'm going to call and email and find out more about that. And I exchanged emails with Paul Schnell, who is their dean. And then he said, you really ought to talk to John Sullivan, who's been doing our programming in Portland, Maine. And then I like to sometimes surf our chapter websites. And I stumbled upon, well, didn't I purposely wanted to check out the Denver Rocky Mountain chapter's website. And it was so interesting to see all of the collaboration that was going on there within the chapter. And so both of these wonderful people are going to talk a little bit about how they are collaborating and how it's making a difference and making it a little easier. Our National Council is very concerned that some of our smaller and medium-sized chapters who do not have the volunteer resources that our larger chapters may have feel obligated to do a program every month. And we don't want you to feel that way. Less is more, which is why I started that way with the description of the program tonight. And before I ask Linda and John some questions, I thought you might be interested to know that we have 91 small chapters. These are chapters that are under 25 people, and a great deal of them are under 12. And then we have 71 small chapters, and that's 25 to 50 people. And tonight we've determined that Portland is a medium-sized chapter with about 70 members, and a Denver Rocky Mountain is 110. So I think it's like anything over about 101 we call a large chapter. And then we have the extra large, as a colleague of ours, JW, says, the husky chapters, and there are about 7 of those. But anyway, John, if you would please, since you have unmuted yourself, tell us a little bit about your geography in Maine, your challenges, and how Zoom has helped connect everybody.
Sure. Maine is still very much a rural state. There are cities, there are some small cities. The largest city is Portland, with a population of 64,000. So that's we are spread out, and getting people together for in-person meetings has always been a challenge. We try to move from place to place, but if you move too far south, then people are having to travel 90 miles, and it's the same thing too far north. Uh, we started doing Zoom meetings during COVID, and we didn't actually even have an agenda or program. It was just a once a month thing, just get together and say, how are you doing? How are you handling the COVID thing in your church? Are you going in and playing for a live service? Is everyone masked? Do you have to, do you still have choir? And people had come up with all sorts of creative solutions as to how to deal with this. We had one member who did her choir rehearsals on Zoom, uh, some very interesting ways. When we came out of Zoom, we just felt that this was a good way to include folks who had trouble traveling a distance to a meeting. So what we've done pretty much the past 3, 4 years, I don't know, 3, 4 years, is to uh, plan meetings that are Zoom friendly for the winter time, so that people don't have to worry about dealing with weather, among other things. But that was what the Krista Rakesh, uh, how that one came about. We had that in early March, which can be pretty brutal in Maine. Uh, and it was very successful. People loved it. Krista is a great speaker. She did a program, in case you haven't read briefly, in case you have not read the summary in TAO. It's a history of women composers of organ music, and it's something I heard her give for the first time in a regional convention back in '95. And she's expanded it. And of course, she did all the presentation. All we had to do was plug in, which was wonderful. Uh, she had writ, written examples. She had visuals, audios. It was a great program. We've also done programs on hymn playing, organ building, and we have more or less alternated those now that COVID has passed and we are getting around a little bit more. We alternated those with our in-person programs. And I think we come out with about 8 programs a year. Just to follow up on what Elizabeth was saying, we very rarely do anything in December because between the weather and people being busy, it seems not to work very well. When we got to the end of this year, we said, we've done 8 programs. Maybe we don't really need to do one in May. So we simply said, yeah, this year we'll skip May. Um, but I think we had a pretty rich selection in previous months, and
You were
that,
saying you've
that
had a book article reading and hymn playing with Stuart Foster and wooden pipe making with an organ builder, series of those.
we didn't have it with Stuart. We weren't able to get him, but we did use his book, and the one of the chapter members read the book and took sections out of it and put it in the form of questions and answers. For example, do you use interludes in the hymns? Why do you use interludes in the hymns? And it provoked a very interesting discussion. The organ builder is David Wallace, who is in Gorham, which is a suburb of Portland. Has been there for a very long time, and he and his son run this small business, but they are one of the major builders in Maine. And I don't think I made it to that one. I forget. It may have been a time when I was having shoulder surgery, so I didn't get even into Zoom on that one.
You also told me something interesting. The chapter decided to make an investment and have a
Oh, right.
technology consultant
Yeah,
come in. And it
yeah,
was probably well worth the money to have somebody to be able to organize all of this.
it was. It was. I couldn't tell you what the dollars were. Maybe Paul, if he joins us later, would know that. Uh, but it definitely was worth having that expertise handy, taking that onus of how do we do this, and when she could just say, oh, easy, you just do this, and you're all done. Yeah, okay, you do this, and we'll watch. So, yeah, that was absolutely one of the best decisions we ever made.
And I
Okay.
know a couple of other chapters that are doing that as well. Well, Linda, I'm going to turn this over to you a little bit because what struck me so much when I did get on your website was just to see all of the different programs you were doing, collaborating with the community. And so talk a little bit. And by the way, I do have to congratulate, I don't know those of you who remember the Year of the Young Organist when we had a recruitment contest. Denver Rocky Mountain did win for the medium-sized chapter and got, I think you got $1,000, and you have a really robust scholarship program. But talk a little bit how you have your template and then you build from there. I'm going to let you do the rest of it.
Well, our biggest collaboration is with SCFD, which is Scientific Cultural Financial District. It started in the 80s. It's a tax-based program. They collect about $60 million every year by taking 1 penny out of every $10 that we spend in 7 counties surrounding Denver. Okay. We're at tier 3, the zoo, the Denver Art Museum, Botanic Gardens, Natural History Museum. They're tier 1. So we don't get huge amounts of grant money, but that is kind of a foundation for collaboration. SCFD is very happy when we have collaborative programs. There have been several collaborative programs that have been going on for a number of years, long before I moved to Denver. But we kind of start out when we're planning our programs for the year. We have 4 things that almost always take place. We have our scholarship program, which takes place in the summer. The high school students get 6 free lessons, and then they play on a recital. And that's always our opening event in September. And then in December, we collaborate with Historic Denver with sort of an organ crawl. We choose the venues, and then Historic Denver may provide somebody to lecture on the building, because Historic Denver, this program, is hearing the organ in the building, but also enjoying the architecture of the building. And they collect the ticket prices, and then we split the costs. So again, it's a way to afford some of the programs that we have. Then
And it's
normally
bringing the community in. It really is bringing the
all
community.
of these things do. The scholarship program brings in all the grandparents and the siblings and the friends, and a new generation. The little kids are seeing the older siblings play the organ, and then we see them a few years later. So it's all bringing the community into it. And St. John's Episcopal Cathedral normally has a major artist in January, and we collaborate in that. We provide publicity, a reception, and bring in people to that event. And then we have our annual meeting in May. And then that's 4 events in the year that we have. And then we kind of fill in the other months with a balance of different things that we want. And some examples of collaborations that have been going on for a long time, in addition to Historic Denver and St. John's, is Augustana Arts, that has a large 3 manual. It's Augustana Lutheran Church, right in the center of the metro area, with a large 3 manual Reuter. Sometimes we've collaborated on bringing in a major artist in a workshop, and sometimes we've had a silent film. The last one that just happened in April was the last of our pandemic programs that didn't happen before the pandemic, was a harpsichord showcase where we had 4 harpsichords and 4 string players. And then we actually brought another harpsichord in, because the things we wanted to do with the organ, the harpsichord needed to be flat because the organ was flat. And you know how it is, the string players don't want to play flat. But anyway, we did that. that concert in collaboration with Augustana Arts, and Augustana Arts is also an SCFD organization. So we both go for grants through the SCFD to help pay for these things. And that also brought in a whole different part of the community that was interested in what's going on with 4 harpsichords playing all at once. And we really educated people and gave them a chance to hear literature, organ and harpsichord, 1 harpsichord, 2 harpsichords, 3 harpsichords, and then all 4 doing the Bach, as well as a newly created piece for 4 harpsichords and strings. So that was another collaboration that happens regularly. So those 2 organizations, Historic Denver and Augustana Arts, are ones that we collaborate with almost every year. And then we've had other really exciting collaborations, like there was a Lutheran church down in Arapahoe County that wanted to bring in Michael Burkhart for a hymn festival. So the church raised some of the money. We got a special Arapahoe County grant because we can get more money for special projects from an individual county. Denver just gives us a portion of our overall operating budget as far as the grant for Denver, but the other counties give us special grants if we make a good case for it. So we brought Michael Burkhart in. We also collaborate with Boulder UCC Church, where we brought David Cherwin in, and we're collaborating with them again this coming year on a duo from Sweden, which should be very interesting.
That's wonderful.
So we have these various things where we collaborate, where we're able to afford things we could not do
right.
with these collaborations.
I think that's the key. I think that's what we obviously are stressing 2 things tonight that I think chapters have tried. I don't know so much about the virtual, but certainly have collaborated. And I just encourage you to do more. And if there isn't a chapter that is nearby, there are arts organizations, there must be choral societies, something in your town. Don't be afraid to approach them and say, we'd love to do a program with you. They'd probably be thrilled to have you there. On Sunday night, I'll be over in Naples, Florida, and the Naples, which it's a Southwest Florida chapter, has a long-standing tradition of playing with the symphony, the Artist Symphony there, and they do an annual organ recital with them. And I'm thrilled this year because a piece has been commissioned for an Orgle Kids kit. So we're going to have the mini organ playing with the regular large organ, which should be great fun. So I don't want some of our smaller chapters to just say, oh gosh, we can't do that. We can't afford that. There are things that you can do. And, outreach in the community it makes such a difference. You really do get to brand yourself. What I think is so important is, you have to I don't know, do either of you use social media, or do you have somebody that helps you with social media as far as
We do.
promoting your events?
Yes, we have, well, we're lucky we don't have to hire a tech person. We have David Vogels maintains our website, and people come to us via that website. He maintains it very well. And we have another member who runs our Facebook page and is constantly putting things out there of all sorts of things, not just AGO events, but anything that has to do with it. And then that Facebook account also shows up on our website so that people see it in that way.
That makes such a difference. John, does Portland have a Facebook page?
We did, and we didn't take very good care of it. So I don't know what's happened recently. As I said, we do have the person who we hired does take care of does do the website.
Okay,
Okay,
great.
and
Good. Well, Linda, you prompted me to think about something that some of our members have asked for, and we do need to do a webinar on grant writing. because that's
Yeah.
an art. It's not easy. And actually, at our convention in San Francisco, Tony Thurman, who is our Chief Development Officer, and I believe John Dixon, who is our Counselor for Finance, are going to do a workshop on grant writing because it's not easy. And you really need to kind of finesse and know what you're doing and how to reach out and, where to look, who to contact makes all the difference in the world. Just curious, we've got 34 participants on tonight's webinar. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Okay, I got this one. This is from Linda Liberty. Thank you. Do the acquisition of grants add community interests and audience members in the event or subsequent events? Linda, you want to answer that?
I didn't quite understand the
Okay,
question.
well, I think they're talking, she's asking when you do get those grants and you add the community to it, does that help you build and support you growing your future events? In other words, bringing the awareness.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, and the other part of the grants that we get from SCFD is we not only have to make a proposal for why we want the money, but we also have to report on the success of it. And we have to, there's a funny little way that we have to actually report on how many people came and what county they were from. So we have little mugs and a box of marbles. And when people come in, they have to put a marble in their county mug. And then that's the way we count it. And so everybody loves that method of keeping track. But, numbers isn't everything, but we also, have to write up, what the response was.
Right. And I think measurements, are really important. I think how successful something is, what are you using to measure success? It might be that you recruited a new member.
Yeah.
I also, we have name badges that are available to any chapter that wants them. JW Arnold, our marketing and communication specialist, has created name badge templates with chapter logos on them, and you can download them and print them out, because I think, having name badges, even for visitors,
Yeah.
really helps kind of bring them into the community and feel like they're valued. I hope we answered your question, Linda.
Maybe I could add one other thing that might
Sure.
be helpful is on many of our events, we have a reception, which everybody is invited to, and everybody is made to feel very welcome to chat during the reception. And we also have a very robust music swap program. And I set that up probably at least 4 of our events. And not only is it music often related to what was being performed, but not always. But we also, people have been donating CDs. And, when people are browsing through the music, they have a chance to chit chat and connect with people. And so those are other community building
Absolutely.
activities that take place in addition to, the actual whatever the performance or presentation was that took place.
That's so funny you said that, because I was speaking with the San Diego chapter. In fact, Christopher Cook presented on our Officer Training for Deans webinar a couple of weeks ago. And, food is a great attractor. If you're going to serve a little food after reception or before reception, it's another icebreaker and a way for people. And the sharing of food and drink is another part of fellowship. So I think it's great that you do that. And so, John, when you all get together, do you ask people to bring a cocktail with them or something when they get on Zoom? An adult beverage or a cup of coffee or something like that?
That's up to them. I hadn't thought of that, although we probably get increased attendance. So not so much in our Zoom things. We tend to do stuff before programs. We tend to have
You have a chat time where people just network.
right, because and that's a geographic thing too, because people are coming from a distance. So, I mean, seriously, they may not have had time to eat breakfast if we're doing this on a Saturday morning. Uh, so, we work our way from the food into the substance of the meeting. So, but yeah, we do food is definitely absolutely
We
agreed.
have a question from John Churchwell. How do you advertise if you do your events to the public, or i.e. non-AGO members?
How do we do that? Not as well as we'd like to, I'm afraid. We do have. I haven't been involved in publicity uh, as such, so I'm not sure I can answer that. Uh,
Linda, do you maybe send a press release or something to the arts editors that might be
oh,
have a
I,
weekend? Yep.
I'm sorry. NPR. NPR
Oh,
has a community. That is the one thing I always do. Uh, NPR, the radio stations who have community calendars, and the Portland paper. I send it to all of those, so it's definitely in those. I
that's
don't. I
great.
just
Go ahead.
no. So I don't know I don't know if that's as effective as it was 10 years ago. That's why I when you said publicity, I immediately went to social media, thinking that probably is something we need to pursue a little more. But yeah, your NPR is great that way. You can go online, and when you've done it once, it takes like 5 minutes. You can do them all.
That's a great suggestion. That's a great suggestion, and something that I think just about any chapter would be able to do. And Linda, I know you a lot of do promoting with the people that you're collaborating with, or the organizations that you.
Right. The events that where there's a collaboration, there usually is a mailing list that they have. Like, for example, Augustana Arts, they have a huge mailing list because they do a lot of concerts, a lot of events. So they send it out to their list. We have had in the past a person in charge of publicity, and things kind of fell by the wayside during the pandemic, and I'm hoping next year we'll get our system back. We had somebody that has a good networking, like with NPR, and took care of all that. Um, but with the Facebook and with our collaborations, we get pretty good crowds out, word of mouth. Um, often there'll be a poster created, and then we can forward that to our friends, or in the venue where it's taking place, they'll promote it heavily.
Mhm.
Paul, who is the dean of the Portland, Maine chapter. Hi, Paul. I'm sorry. I know you were joining us late. There's still a link if you want to come on and be seen, but is commenting once a year we do a mailing to church musicians, workshop on copyrights, and a choral reading session. Those are great things. Those are wonderful things to do. And particularly, I mean, they don't have to be members of your chapters. That's the way to kind of draw them in and engage them, and get to know them. So, well, I want to thank you both, because I know I kind of called you at the last minute and
Yeah.
contacted you at the last minute, but I hope that some of our participants that are on tonight realize that, first of all, you do not need to do a program every month, particularly for some of our chapters that don't have subcommittees and program committees and education committees. Uh, of course, provide networking opportunities, whether it's on Zoom before a program like Portland, Maine does, or as Linda Mack says, we try to. There's always a reception usually when we're collaborating with another organization. But people want to get together, but there's various ways that they can do that, and less is more. Don't overtax yourself with something that you are
Mhm.
not going to be able to feel confident about doing or pleased with the results. And I'm just going to add, don't be afraid to try something new and different. because you don't know until you try, right?
All right.
So, good. I'm glad you agree with me on that. Well, Paul, thank you. I'm glad you could comment with us. John, thank you so much for taking time tonight to
My
join
pleasure.
us with this. Oh, their hearts coming up here. I love it. And Linda, thank you so very much. All of your events sound so exciting. I'm going to have to come out to your area and
Please do.
and attend some of them. I love the historic event. That just sounds hysterical. That just sounds wonderful to me. Oh, you're getting lots of thumbs up. Well, that's great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Oh, I need to do some promotions. Well, first of all, you can see behind me, we do have a logo for our upcoming convention in San Francisco. And actually, Linda, you mentioned David Bogles. He and I are going to be doing a workshop on the similarities between growing great wine and vines and growing great chapter leaders, because he's such a subject knowledge expert on that. And we do have 2 more officer training webinars coming up. On June 17th, we're going to present one for treasurers. And then on June 25th, something near and dear to my heart, membership is everybody's business. So don't just rely on your membership coordinator or your registrar or your dean to be the person that's recruiting and retaining members. It takes a village. It takes everybody on your board to do that. I think we're going to have some fun with that. And then as well, AGOYO, the Committee for AGO Young Organists, is presenting on June 10th a webinar on a discussion about higher education options for young organists. So we do hope that you will participate, take a look at that as well. All of these can be found under the education tab. It's a drop-down menu that says workshops and recitals. And if you scroll down, you can choose the webinar that you'd like to attend. So thank you, everyone. Oh, we have one last question. Okay, let's see what that is. Before we say goodbye. Oh, thank you very much for the webinar. I've learned a lot. Well, you are so welcome, John. I'm
Hey.
so glad, Jonathan, that you got something out of it. I think that's great. Thank you all. Take care, be well, and I hope to see some of you in a few weeks in San Francisco.
Okay, cool.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.